everyone. This is Himanshu Sehgal, CEO of Pharma Shots. Here I am once again with another episode or a small bit of an interview, which is a post-conference a review and an interview with Jayasree Iyer. Jayasree Iyer is the CEO of Access to Medicine Foundation. She's based out of Netherlands, and she last week was part of the Reuters Pharma Barcelona event, and there she was a keynote speaker. Also, she ran a panel discussion. So we are here to talk to Jayasree and get some glimpse on what all happened. I obviously attended the session. It was very, a very intelligent session, I would say. A lot of good points were discussed, but I requested Jayasree to take out time and talk to us. So thank you, Jayasree, for coming and joining us and talking bit about what you discussed, what you learned at the at the Reuters event last week. So
Thanks again. Yeah, thanks for inviting me. Yeah.
thank you so much. Jayasree, you opened the topic of health equity. So uh, can you talk about the topic accelerate access to medicine? You fight for good health equity. What do you understand or what do you mean by that?
Yeah. So we're very happy that the Reuters team actually gave us the first keynote panel and prioritized the topic of health, global health equity, which is basically a point on the fact that people all around the world do not have access to essential medicines that they need. 80% of the world's population live in low and middle income countries. So it is important for us that these kind of discussions really address 80% of the world's population or 100% of the world's population and not be very siloed into a single area that only affects the rich or specific countries in the world itself. So the panel was on uniting for global health equity. Here we interviewed companies who performed well in the Access to Medicine Index, which is a report that we bring forward, which is an analysis of the largest pharmaceutical companies and how they improve access to medicine in low and middle income countries. So we invited members from the top 5 of the Access to Medicine Index companies to come join us in the panel and basically discuss how do they embed global health equity into their business. What does it take? What does it mean to embed these type of principles in the practice? How do you actually measure their own results against it? So we had a panel of 3 pharma companies that I moderated in the session.
Awesome. So thank you so much for that. So now talking about how was the conference? You attended the whole conference. What was your experience about the conference?
So overall, the conference had a lot of different topics and themes to cover, right? So there are very specific themes on value-based approaches to medicines. There's a lot of discussions on partnerships. Obviously, we're sitting in a particular geopolitical climate right now, so that was a very important theme. For a lot of people, the point on having a purpose, because this is the pharmaceutical and healthcare industry's difference, having a purpose because at the end, a pharmaceutical product or a healthcare product is intended to save lives and protect lives in that sense, right? So there was a very strong sense of purpose, and there were many points on innovative approaches to addressing healthcare needs globally, whether it is in artificial intelligence or in data mining or in sort of financing. There was very broad topics actually covered in the entire conference.
So I hope you enjoyed the conference.
Yeah, I thought it was quite an interesting discussion and very well attended. In our panel alone, the room was full and with lots of very important questions on the practical details on how are you really going to solve this? Are there approaches that are solutions that we need to go back to our companies with in that sense?
Awesome. Another question comes to mind is that again, this is more of a hypothetical, futuristic question. How do you see health equity or access to medicine in next 5 years with the updating landscape of pharma industry? So how do you see it evolving?
So historically, a lot of the difference between the access for patients around the world versus those that don't have access has heavily been driven by sort of the will of individuals, right? They could be will of more political will at the government level. It could be the will of pharma company leadership to basically say, let's broaden access in the particular countries. But around the wheel has been a lot of mechanisms that have been developed, right? For primarily for HIV, malaria, tuberculosis, some of the infectious diseases, for vaccines. A lot of that has been heavily driven by donor funding, so development aid funding, and is now in a bit of a pivotal, fragile point because of the current geopolitical climate, right? But at the same time, I think there's been a lot of innovative ways that we've been addressing this global health equity to make sure that not only for infectious diseases, but also for some of the chronic diseases, we can broaden access for patients globally. And it means thinking early for an industry. It means partnering as industry and public partners, working together to de-risk and co-invest so that you're using less resources to get a bigger impact in that regard, and really striving for patient outcomes and patient reach impact as the goals in that sense, right? So I do think that the next 5 years will be difficult, will be bumpy because of the geopolitical climate. There's a lot of space for new ideas. There's a lot of it's important to sort of sustain some of the good mechanisms that are working. But it'll be a difficult, challenging set of years. But at the end of it, we cannot let it go that that so many people around the world. I mean, at the moment, 2 billion people in the world lack access to essential medicines. So as long as we keep the purpose high and we keep the fact that we're embedding access to healthcare as part of our business, as part of our policies, I think we can get closer to the goal.
So, I really admire what you're saying. And then another question which comes to mind, and you touched upon it, that, there is a lot of regulatory changes, not to name a specific country, but there are a lot of, tariffs being imposed and then, taken back, put a pause on it. And there is the dynamics of the world is changing. So how do you see it playing in terms of, again, access to the medicine space, basically?
Yeah.
Is it going to impact it? Not. If yes, then how much?
Yeah. I think there's going to be a lot of impact because the world is more interconnected in healthcare than we realize, right? So a product made here needs active ingredients from another country, needs the packaging in another country, needs shipping that is run by another country. So, the world is actually a very small place when it comes to sort of the pharmaceutical value and supply chain. Whether you're talking about in R&D or in actual supplies of finished products, marketed products in that sense. So there will be a lot of effects. There's a huge butterfly effect when there's a change in financing or donor funding. There's a huge butterfly effect if there are tariffs or if costs go up. And there's a huge effect if, let's say, an organization that's pivotal in that value chain no longer exists or cannot function at the same level and quality. I think the role of the World Health Organization is also really critical in making sure that countries are building their systems and building their capacity in harmonizing the sort of the standards that they're all working with, but at the same time sharing data and evidence in case of outbreaks, in case of counterfeit and or fake medicines and substandard medicines, in case of problems in the pharmaceutical supply chain, right? So to me, there's a lot of organizations that have now been working for many years. They all now have to rethink efficiency, and they now have to rethink sort of their resource limited setting itself. They all are needed to be true partners for the industry. But now is more than ever the time for partners to come together to say, okay, how are we going to actually bridge the gap amidst the geopolitical climate so that the impact is not going to be so big that we cannot get around it in that sense. So at the moment, I mean, tariffs, I think countries need to look at tariffs and import regulations, whether pharmaceuticals and healthcare products are exempt from it. And we do need to look at expanding the supply chains, especially for fragile products like certain antibiotics are only made in single factories around the whole world, So things like that do need to come into place. But it means a very challenging time for the industry. and a very innovative time where you need sort of maximum innovative ideas and creative ideas that really are put into practice.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. That was it. That was the bit. I would love to connect with you once again, for a more detailed discussion. But yes, this was very insightful. So, thank you for taking out time and talking to us, and obviously educating our audience who could not attend Reuters Barcelona event. So yeah. And after this, I'll sign off and I'll let you go. I know you're a busy person, so thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you, Himanshu. I really enjoyed the discussion.
Thank you.